I have none.
And I do not believe that. Item 7, approval of the consent agenda.
So moved. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Move on to the regular agenda, item 8. Updates from the Historic Preservation Board in regard to the Laramie West Side Historic District National Register of Historic Places nomination. Good morning, Karen.
Good morning, Karen Barr, the Chair of the Historic Preservation Board for Albany County. We are very pleased to, I know you have the letter in your packet, but we were notified on August 5th that that nomination was a success and that the West Side is now officially put onto the National Historic Register. I just would like to read the one sentence from the letter, and that is that Laramie West Side Historic District represents an important part of Wyoming's history and is an excellent addition to the NRHP. So we're very happy with where we are. I wanted to let you know that the contractor that we selected was amazing. They did an excellent job. I also want to let you know that this nomination went through with no discussion, no amendments. It went through smooth sailing all the way. So that was wonderful. I know you have one, but I do have a copy of the letter for you. Also, I just wanted to update you as to where we're going from here. So right now we have the wording of the plaque is going through final proofing. As soon as that proof is approved, then that plaque will be made. Once we have the timeline on how long that will take, we will set the date for the unveiling, and all of you will be invited to that event. So we are very, very happy with how this is going, and it was a great conclusion and a wonderful job with our contractors.
Where will the plaque be?
That has not been determined yet.
Fair enough.
So, I mean, we're still looking at the size and location, and of course, we have to work probably with the city on that. So we have a few hoops that we have to still jump through on that side before all of that is determined.
Great, thank you.
Okay. All right.
Item 9, discuss updates from the Extension Office. Amanda, come on up.
Morning, commissioners. Well, it's been a little while since I've come to you to discuss a few things. We have a couple important things to inform you about. First, I just kind of wanted to start with some of our 4-H highlights from the summer. Of course, as you all know, summer is really busy with, of course, our county fair and state fair. That's our busy time of year. We had, I think, a successful county fair, and I saw Dad was there. I think, did you come? Did I see you? Yep, and probably Carrie as well. So
Like a lot.
Yep. So I think you were all there. So we had pretty successful time there. We took 46 exhibitors, so those are individuals, to State Fair. So we had representatives in the livestock barns, dog, cat, and our rabbit showman. We took a trailer full of indoor exhibits up to State Fair as well. We had several of our shooting sports kids represent our county program at National Shooting Sports Contest and the Raton Shoot. Our wool judging team early in the spring won the state 4-H contest and will represent us at the national contest in Dallas, Texas in October this year. Our senior livestock judging team won the state contest at State Fair, and they're going to compete at the North American International Livestock Exposition in Louisville, Kentucky in November this year. So we're really proud of our teams for that. Our another highlight of our summer, I think I talked to you last year about our New York exchange trip. So last summer, if you remember, we hosted kids from New York State. They came to Wyoming for a week. So this past summer, in the beginning of July, we took 10 of our junior leaders to New York. And so we spent a week there in the Albany, New York area. We had a few travel troubles getting there. We had some airline delays with some storms on the East Coast getting in there. We ended up renting some SUVs and driving from Dulles Airport in DC up to New York, but we got to see some pretty country along the way. So that was kind of an adventure. Don't recommend that, but it was great once we got there. So we got to go have some pretty unique experiences. Our kids got to see a really large dairy operation, which of course is unique. We don't have a lot of those here in Wyoming. We got to go to a mushroom farm, and it's not mushrooms for human consumption. They're mushrooms that are used to make products. So they make a mushroom leather. I should have brought it with me, but I have if you're ever in the office, I have a product. It feels kind of like real leather, and you probably wouldn't know, but they make a mushroom packing material. They also make a mushroom bacon and a mushroom pulled pork product that are edible. So the texture is kind of weird. We got to try those products while we were there. But vegan kind of, products, but the story behind the company is really unique. And basically, one of the founders of the company has a child that was missing a diaphragm when they were born. So they have an artificial diaphragm. So they started this company basically with the idea that hopefully they'll develop technologies to create artificial organs. And so they're using the generation of all these other products, one, to generate the funds to do that, because of course that's very expensive, but then to build on those technologies. So that was a really unique industry, and they've been in business since the early 2000s, I believe. So they've been going for quite a while, but it was a really unique facility that we got to tour while we were there. And we got to go to the Saratoga Springs horse race track and got some unique experiences. We were featured on TV. It was a 4-H day. So met some other 4-Hers from around New York as well. So we got some pretty unique experiences while we were there. So that was a fun activity while we were there, and we had a really great trip. So, and I think our kids, having hosted the New York teenagers last year, and then a lot of them kept in contact throughout the year, and then spending more time with them this year, I think they really got to make some connections and have lifelong friendships. And a couple of the kids are already talking about maybe coming back to Wyoming next year, and they're, talking on social media, Snapchat, and texting each other, and really have some friendships that hopefully will last a lifetime. So that's a really unique experience for those kids to have. So that was really fun. And then on the 4-H side, our annual fundraising dinner banquet is coming up on October 9th. We used to call it Ag Appreciation, but we've switched it now. We're going to call it the Feed the Dream banquet. And the proceeds from that banquet are going to help our fundraising efforts to support our livestock judging team for their national trip and their travel to Kentucky, as well as other 4-H projects. And then, of course, our new 4-H year is going to kick off on October 1st, and then National 4-H Week will be October 5th through the 12th. And then for other office updates, for our agriculture natural resource side, some of the summer programs that Brenna hosted were our ag and art tours. So she helped with those in Hart County, Albany County, and Laramie County. So in Albany County, it was August 9th, and they went to 3 ranches. They went to the Deerwood Ranch, Taste of the Wind, and then LREC, the Laramie Research and Education Center. About 60 people attended that, and there was artists that were able to sell their artwork as part of those tours, so that was successful. And then she was also part of the Rural Living series, which was a collaboration between, I believe, Conservation District, the Barnyards and Backyards arm of Extension, as well as other educators. So they hosted a series of 5 workshops throughout the summer in various places around Laramie. There was a tree planting workshop, a Firewise education, nature journaling, a spray day up in Rock River, and then a ZEDIC workshop, which was on Pilot Hill, which is erosion control and different structures to help with water runoff and erosion. So that's some of what A&R was up to this summer. And then one of the most important things I wanted to talk to you about was our sensible nutrition update. So Ruth's been pretty busy in the last several months. She's taught 9 youth classes in 5 different schools with 170 kids, and then 7 adult classes with about 25 participants. And she got some grant funding to provide Instant Pots for participants that graduated from their 8-class series. So she's able to give those away. And they found that the Instant Pot series is really beneficial to provide a quick, easy way to cook cheaper protein sources such as dried beans and other legumes. So with the rising cost of groceries, that's a really good way to get people to cook those protein sources, which are readily available at the food pantries and food banks easily and quickly. Because people, I think, are kind of intimidated by what do I do with dried beans, but Instant Pot's a really good way to cook with those. But the most important part is, and this is some bad news, but some good news. And so with the passing of the big, beautiful bill in the federal government, a majority of the funding was cut for the Sensible Nutrition Program. So that was the SNAP Ed with the federal government funds. And so they had to restructure the Sensible Nutrition Program. And so they had to cut statewide. They went from 22 educators. So there's an educator in almost every county in Wyoming, and they had to cut back to 7 educators covering, and they went to a regional model. So now there's 7 regions in the state. And so the challenge then was to be identifying the areas with the most need because they can't cover it all. But we are very fortunate that Region 1 is going to be Albany and Carbon County. And so Ruth is able to stay on with us and cover Albany and Carbon County. So we will still have an educator here in Albany County. And so that funding is going to be provided rather than a majority of the funding coming through SNAP Ed, it will become the FNEP funds, which is a different source of funding. Again, federally funded, but a different pot of money. So it'll be restructured a little bit, but I'm very pleased to say that we get to keep our Sensible Nutrition Program alive and well here in Albany County.
I think it's wonderful that Ruth is able to stay.
Yes, and Ruth's able to stay. So we're very pleased about that. And then one last thing, just real quick, is just kind of a general office update. So we kind of worked on a little bit, just kind of an informal needs assessment, kind of what does our community need from Extension as general. And one of the things we kind of heard from some people that kind of come in our office is we're hosting a sewing machine maintenance clinic tomorrow evening. So Ann Leonard, one of our community members who's pretty well versed in this, is hosting a small clinic on how to maintain your sewing machine. And we had to limit our participation and our workshop is full. So that's kind of exciting. And then UW Extension hosts a professional development conference called EPIC, and usually us educators go to that at the beginning of November. It's going to be November 4th through the 6th. And this year they're combining it with a professional development conference called Escape, which is usually just for our administrative assistants. So that is Sarah. And so this year, all of us in the office are going to attend that the 4th through the 6th, and it's held up at the Hilton. And so Sarah will go to that. So we're all going to attend to learn new ways to better serve our community. However, that means we'll probably have to have a little bit of an office closure during those couple days. So just wanted to make you aware of that. So if we have limited office hours during those days, that's why we're going to be kind of up on campus learning some new things to help hopefully better serve our community and do some professional development activities together as a team. So
Is the sewing machine clinic, is that going to be on Zoom?
Nope, it's just in person because everyone's going to bring their machines and learn how to oil them and do some basic maintenance. But our workshop is full and we have a waiting list, so we may be offering a second one to be determined.
So many people can find their sewing machines intimidating.
Yes, and that's partially why we did it. So
very good. I'm tickled to hear that.
Yeah, so that was one of the things. And one of the things that we're learning a lot about, and myself as county coordinator, is kind of doing needs assessment for the community as a whole. So I think that's something to come, and something that we will be learning about in November is our professional development team is going to be giving us new tools on how to do needs assessments. So look for that to come, I think, coming up in the future at some point. And that may involve some more community type meetings and different ways that we can assess, what does our community need from Extension. So I think those will be good tools that we will have to be able to reach out to our community and figure out how can we better serve our community. So that will be exciting, I think. So anyway, any questions about Extension?
Ruth, does she have to spend a couple of days in both counties, or is it a little more flexible with that, with sensible nutrition?
Yeah, I think it's going to be flexible. They're really unsure what that's going to look like. I think especially one of the challenges, Ruth is lucky because she only has 2 counties. Some of the other regions are quite a bit bigger and have maybe 3 or 4 counties because they divided the state into 7 regions. And then there's a couple counties, some of the smaller populated counties like Weston, I think, and Crook County that actually aren't really part of a region. So they may actually have to do like online programming for some of those counties. So I think one of the biggest challenges, of course, is going to be Wyoming weather in the winter. And so I think not only for Ruth with Albany and Carbon County, but for other regions in the state, they may have to be creative in thinking about what that looks like. And so I think that's going to be the challenge. So they're gonna try it and see what happens. And I think to be determined what, what that's gonna exactly look like yet. So there's kind of a lot of unknowns, but I do think the positive part is that we get to keep at least some educators and get to continue the work of that really great program. And I think as we see the cuts to food banks and food pantries, I think having at least some education on how to, get the best kind of bang for your buck when you're utilizing those resources and how to cook with those items that you can get from food pantries is going to be really beneficial to the participants in these programs. So I'm excited that we I'm excited for Extension as a whole that we get to keep that programming alive in some way, even if it's slightly reduced. So
Thank you, Amanda.
yeah, you're welcome.
Thank you. Thank you, Amanda. Item 10. Advise the Board of County Commissioners of Albany County about the intent to call the Albany County, Wyoming General Obligation Bonds Series 2019 as of December 15th, 2025. Tracy, good morning.
Good morning, Commissioners. Thank you for the time today. I wanted to bring this before you just as kind of a PR opportunity for the specific purpose tax that has been on all of our minds recently. But just as a reminder, we did issue those bonds in 2019 in the amount of 1.575 million. The projects that we covered is we purchased some IT infrastructure needs in the amount of 500,000. We purchased the range arena for 325,000. We did some repairs at the detention center for 250,000. And then in the courthouse, we had some various projects, which included the door locks, the remodel of this room. And I think there were some other smaller things, and that was 500,000. By calling these bonds now, we are going to be saving $65,302.50, which can now go towards some of those other projects rather than interest payments. Originally, the bonds were amortized and to be paid over a 12-year period. This is 6 years early to pay these off.
Very good.
That's all I have on that. If you have questions.
See, no question. Thank you, Tracy. Okay. On to item 11. Advise the Board of County Commissioners of Albany County, Wyoming about the intent. No, this one I haven't. About the intent to call the Wyoming General Obligation Bonds Laramie Regional Airport Series 2019 as of December 15th, 2025.
Good morning again. And this is pretty much the same as the previous item, except for we did bond 5.6 million on behalf of the airport. I don't know if everybody's had a chance to look at the terminal, but I think they did a beautiful job in upgrading that. This will save in interest savings will be $225,455. So those interest savings can now go towards other various maintenance needs that might be needed at the airport.
Excellent, excellent.
Do we need any action? This is just advice.
Nope.
Okay.
Yeah, just advising. I don't have to have approval to do that.
Item 12, present for approval software as a service agreement with Sempro Treasury Management Solutions and the Board of County Commissioners of Albany County, Wyoming for Sempro T-Cloud Investment Systems in the amount of $11,400 for 1 year and $8,400 annually thereafter, and direct the chairperson to sign.
Hello
Good morning
again. This is a unique piece of software that would track all of our county's investments. Currently, right now, we have 8 investment accounts for different types of funds or reserves that we hold. Within those funds or within those accounts, there's different holdings such as CDs, government-backed bonds, asset-backed bonds, which are like mortgage based, like your Freddie Mac or Fannie Mae. And so right now, we track the account and any investment gains or interest through Excel. This will track each and every different security that we hold by its CUSIP number. We have a requirement through GASB to record everything, what we call mark to market, which means we're recording at the end of each month what the market value of that investments are. So we can say on June 30th, we held X number of dollars. If we would have sold it that day, that's what it would have been worth. As we know, the market changes pretty crazily over time, but a lot of the items we have are fixed based income. So we're earning anywhere from 2% on some of our older investments, all the way up to, I think, 5.05% on some of the newer ones. And we've been trying to ladder them to keep them, but this will also help so I can report all this to you in a more better fashion than, which you're not getting any reports right now on the investments, obviously, because there's no good way to do it, but that's what this is.
Give you a dashboard, more feel like an instant look that you can grab anytime.
It should give me the ability to go out to and look at the market, not to place any kind of investments or do any kind of investing through this software, but yes, to look at the real-time value of what the investments are.
And it eliminates a lot of entry,
Yes.
correct?
Yes. We're doing all the investment entries for the interest and the changes in the fair market value by hand.
I move that we approve the software as a service agreement with Sempro Treasury Management Solutions and the Board of County Commissioners of Albany County, Wyoming for the Sempro T-Cloud Investment Systems in the amount of $11,400 for each year and $8,400 annually thereafter. And
Sorry. No, I was just gonna say second.
Oh, and direct the chair.
Okay,
Second.
now,
I'm like, I didn't know, you didn't look over. I didn't know if you wanted to discuss.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Thank you very much for that enthusiastic approval.
Yeah. Apologies.
Item 13, present for approval funding agreement between the Board of Commissioners of the County of Albany, Wyoming, and the Laramie Public Art Coalition, Albany County Public Library, and Winter Lights Festival Tough Guys Landscaping and Lighting for 2026 community partner funding.
Hello again,
Great.
Commissioners. These are just our last 3 agreements with our subrecipients for our community partner funding. So after this should be the last one that shouldn't be showing up on your agendas anymore. So.
Madam Chair, I move we approve the funding agreement between the Board of Commissioners of the County of Albany, Wyoming, and the Laramie Public Art Coalition, Albany County Public Library, and Winter Lights Festival Tough Guys Landscaping and Lighting for fiscal year 26 community partner funding.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Item 14, present for approval subrecipient First Amendment to the Temporary Assistance for Needy Families Funding Agreement between the Board of County Commissioners of Albany County, Wyoming, and Greater Wyoming Big Brothers Big Sisters Cathedral Home for Children Resource Center, Climb, Wyoming, and Laramie Interfaith for the TANF CPI 2024 through 2026 grant funding for services provided between October 1st, 2024 and September 30th, 2026. Good morning again, Dan. Brad, remember.
These are just our subrecipient agreements. I believe at your last meeting, we had the amendment with the state for TANF to just add on the additional funds for next year and the timeline as well. And this is just making our subrecipient agreements to match that from the state. So I believe everyone is just getting the same amount that they did before and are generally providing the same services that they did.
They changed the way they are doing business. They're not renewing, or we're just amending the contract.
Correct.
Instead of reissuing. This is part of that same program, right?
Yes, it's the same program. The state, instead of going out for applications again, they're just amending everyone's that had the additional funds at the same amounts and for the additional year.
I move that we approve the subrecipient First Amendment to Temporary Assistance of Needy Families Funding Agreement between the Board of County Commissioners of Albany County, Wyoming, and Greater Big Brothers Big Sisters Cathedral Home for Children Resource Center, Climb, Wyoming, and Laramie Interfaith for the TANF/CPI 2024 through 2026 grant funding. Do you need anymore?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Thank you, Bree. Item 15, present for approval, Community Service Block Grant, Albany County Fiscal Year 2026 Sub-Recipient Agreement for the contract CFDA number 93.569 for the following agencies. Laramie Interfaith in the amount of $49,700, Safe Project in the amount of $24,817, Laramie Reproductive Health in the amount of $31,000, and Downtown Clinic in the amount of $51,500. Family Promise of Albany County in the amount of $20,000, and direct the chairperson to sign.
Well, again, this is very much just the same thing, just a different grant. The state has changed how they're doing this. Again, they're just amending our contract that we had before, and we are just having our subrecipients agree to, I believe, the same funding as what they've had the previous federal fiscal year.
Well, I move that we approve the Community Service Block Grant of Albany County Fiscal Year 2026 Subrecipient Agreement for Contract CFDA number 93.569 for the following agencies: Laramie Interfaith in the amount of $49,700, Safe Project in the amount of $24,817, Laramie Reproductive Health in the amount of $31,000, Downtown Clinic in the amount of $51,500, and Family Promise of Albany County in the amount of $20,000, and direct the chairperson to sign.
Second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Item 16, present for approval the revised grant office policies and procedures. Good morning.
Madam Chair,
Mr.
Commissioners. So this is on behalf of the Grants Office. In order to comply with HUD regulations and guidance, and also the Wyoming Community Development Authority or Association Authority guidance and sort of rules which govern community development block grants, we needed to make updates to our conflict of interest policies in both the grants policy and procedure handbook and our general ones in the employee handbook, which kind of goes throughout all the other policies.
And I'm assuming those changes have been made and we're good to go.
Well, that's
That's what
these
you're hoping.
changes are.
That's
Yeah.
You didn't have to change out the entire book, and it was just the conflict of interest. Could you point me to that part, please, Matt?
Yeah, so I guess keeping this sequential for the grants Policies and Procedures Handbook. It is essentially incorporating the language from the federal regulations governing community development block grants, which are some of the most stringent for federal funds. And it essentially just, says you can't have a conflict of interest in any aspect of the use of federal funds or in even management of a project. And then the important part with this is that if a conflict does exist, it needs to be disclosed to the federal funding agency. So that's largely the thrust of these amendments.
Thank you. But you made the adjustment to comply with what the federal regulations need to reflect in our handbook.
Yeah, well, that's the next item. So I guess.
I'm sorry, yeah,
No.
we're on the blood, yes.
Yeah.
Madam Chair, I move that we approve the revised grant office policies and procedures.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Item 17, present for approval the revised Albany County Employee Handbook. Mr. Ayers.
So as an initial matter, there were two further edits which I need to request. Beginning on page 5 of the redlined version, which you received in your packet. It is, I guess, B and then Romanet II, requesting or receiving money, property, privilege, or personal or private advantage from a person or entity other than Albany County on behalf of the elected official or employee. And then skipping forward to that second elected official, adding an or after elected official and before employee. And then there was just a weird page break on numbered page 23 of 36. So those, I would request that those amendments also be made. In addition to, I guess, what has been provided. And if there are any questions about these, I'm happy to answer.
I didn't actually see the red line version.
I didn't either.
Oh,
That's why I didn't know what changes you actually made. Because it just has the full document in it now. For both.
I was looking at what Bailey sent in for the agenda.
I think it's fine. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah, we don't have the line numbers of the Romanets.
Okay.
Well, we do have the Romanets, but
I move we
well,
yeah.
I think if I could just try to get that in front of you. Okay, it looks like those did not get. I guess I would request that this agenda item gets.
You just want to move it to the end of the agenda?
Yeah, or
Forward it to them.
yeah, I'll do that. Or put it in between item 28 and 29. Okay. Thank you.
So we're just gonna move just agenda item 17 to 28A.
Yes.
David, do you need a motion for that? for us to move it.
No, you can just move it. That's okay. Great, it's okay. Thank you, Matt.
Yeah, thank you.
Item 18, present for approval residential anti-displacement and relocation assistance plan.
So this plan is required by the CDBG grant. The form for the plan that's in your packet is directly from CDBG sample forms. It is a policy that has to be in place for the county for 5 years pursuant to CDBG terms. In talking to Ted, Bailey reached out to him to find out when the last tenants were in the Thunderbird to make sure we were not going to run into any relocation assistance requirements within the plan. And there was a fire in one of the unoccupied units in early 2022, and it has been boarded up and non-usable since that point. So we don't have any of the concerns about having to provide additional housing or any of the other requirements in the plan had there still been tenants in that building.
This just basically states that nobody was evicted during the process.
And that if we do a project in the next 5 years, if we do something where we remove low-income residential housing, we are required to replace that housing with new available housing. So not something we are likely to run into, but just.
Certainly hope not. I move that we approve the residential anti-displacement relocation assistance plan. as presented.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Item 19, present for approval resolution 2025-015, resolution supporting and authorizing the submission of the county development block grant application to the Wyoming Community Development Authority for the Laramie Soup Kitchen demolition and abatement project, and direct the chairperson to sign resolution 2025-015 and additional supporting documents.
So this resolution is also required by the CDBG grant, and those additional supporting documents are in your packet, which are just the general supporting documents that are required for that grant. And it just says that as the Board of County Commissioners, we support that project and appoint somebody to be the point person.
I move that we approve resolution 2025-015, a resolution supporting and authorizing the submission of the community development block grant application to the Wyoming Community Development Authority for the Laramie Soup Kitchen demolition and abatement project, and direct the chairperson to sign resolution 2025-015 and additional supporting documents.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Item 20, present for approval grant application to the Wyoming Office of Homeland Security for the 2025 Emergency Management Performance Grant to fund the Emergency Management Coordinator in the amount of $54,919. Good morning, Kate.
Good morning, Commissioners. So this is our Emergency Management Performance Grant. As it stated, it does fund the coordinator salary. This grant was cut by 40%. So we are eliminating the deputy coordinator communications specialist position. And this is just an approval to submit this grant to cover my position.
Any questions?
Kate, how does that elimination of that position impact the work?
We will no longer have the communications specialist position. So it will impact that. As far as our department, we will not be directly affected, but it will affect Sheriff's Office, Road and Bridge, and some of the other departments in the county.
Did that person work on the radios and all that stuff?
That was Scott's position.
We still have all the equipment. We just don't have a person to do that or assist you as the deputy.
Correct. We did hire a new administrative assistant that started yesterday. I'm hoping that she can help fill a little bit of the emergency management side of that. And we will look to try to reopen that position in the future if funding changes.
Then also brings back the contract probably to continue to update and upgrade the radios. You'll probably be bringing a contract to us for that work or between you and the sheriff's office.
Potentially, yes. We haven't looked into exactly how we're going to cover that gap. Some of the work is no longer on EMA's plate just due to changes in some of the other departments, so that will help a lot as well.
Okay.
We will make it work either way. It is disappointing, but we'll figure it out.
I move that we approve the grant application to the Wyoming Office of Homeland Security for the 2025 Emergency Management Performance Grant to fund the Emergency Management Coordinator in the amount of $54,917.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Present for approval grant application to the Wyoming Office of Homeland Security to support the purchase of mobile and portable radios. 8.
This is our, good morning again,
Oh,
Commissioners.
I forgot to add,
Oh.
in the amount of $75,480.08.
Good morning again, Commissioners. This is our State Homeland Security Grant application number 1, and this is for emergency communications equipment for our first responders throughout the county. And I did have an amended spreadsheet sent out this morning. If you haven't gotten a chance to look at that, Kayla has a copy there. And these are all high priority asks. We did not include any of our low priority asks in the hopes of getting this approved with all of the grant funding cuts.
And these aren't cheap.
They are not cheap, no, and the prices keep going up.
At some point, is the county gonna have to look to streamline, like purchase a particular model so we can support one particular model?
Typically we go with Motorola, and we do have a contract for discounted pricing through WyoLink across the state, which has helped significantly. Some of these asks for BK radios are due to our firefighters being deployed out nationally, and that just helps them to integrate with the other areas across the country.
The field programming for fire?
Yes,
Okay.
yes. Much easier to program on the fly.
Madam Chair, I move that we approve the grant application to the Wyoming Office of Homeland Security to support the purchase of mobile and portable radios in the amount of $75,480.08.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Item 22, present for approval grant application to the Wyoming Office of Homeland Security in the amount of $61,253 to support the purchase and outfitting of a truck for the EMA coordinator.
Good morning again, Commissioners. This is our second State Homeland Security Program grant ask. And this is for a new vehicle for emergency management that is fully outfitted. The change that Brady brought to you earlier was the original quote was for a 1,500. We actually needed 2,500 in order to pull all of our equipment to incident scenes. So we ask that you approve our second grant application.
I move to approve the grant application to the Wyoming Office of Homeland Security in the amount of $61,253 to support the purchase and outfit of a truck for the EMA coordinator.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Item 23, present for approval grant application to the Wyoming Office of Homeland Security in the amount not to exceed $175,000 to support the purchase of equipment for a terrorism task force. Good morning.
Morning,
Sheriff.
Commissioners. This is our last grant application for Wyoming Department of Homeland Security SHSP grant. through some of the assessments and planning that we've had through the Department of Emergency Management, one of the things that we're lacking here in Albany County is in terrorism response group. And so within this grant, we are applying for equipment and training to begin to establish that group. So that's the application that you guys have.
I have a discussion. What does this include? Is this the suppressed, I'm assuming SBR?
No, through the list is all inclusive and that's part of our grant, but we're only asking for the equipment and the training portions of it. The grant does not allow purchase of firearms or ammunition.
For the armored vehicle?
Oh, we're not asking for the armored
Okay.
vehicle.
Well, I exceeded the amount. I'm
As you
curious.
can see there, yeah. So, but part of the application asks if the request that we're making includes the total amount of the project. And there's also other questions in the application to say, you know, are we going to be funding the entire project? Or are we going to be funding partial of the project? Like I said, we do it partial. And then they wanted to know other information of, you know, do you have other grant applications and to cover the rest of the costs, and there's some of the logistics in terms of spinning up that program. So the quote sheet that you saw with some of the highlighted portions on there, like the firearms, the ammunition, the armored vehicle for it, those are ones that have been pulled out of our grant application specifically to the Wyoming Department of Security.
I move that we approve the grant application for the Wyoming Office of Homeland Security in the amount not to exceed $175,000 to support the purchase of equipment for a terrorism task force.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Thank you, commissioners.
Item 24, present for approval contract between Wyoming State Parks and Cultural Resources and Albany County in the amount of $10,000 for the purpose of the
Semi-quincentennial.
thank you. And it wasn't even written there. The 250th project. Brady, I'm sorry.
Yeah. Good morning again, and hopefully for the last time this morning. This is just our grant agreement with the state for that 250th anniversary of the founding of our country. You had approved a resolution with the Historic Preservation Board to just be the committee to decide how best to spend these funds on projects celebrating that for next year. And this is just the official contract to approve that with the state.
Madam Chair, I move we approve the contract between the Wyoming State Parks and Cultural Resources in Albany County, amount of $10,000 for the purpose of the 250th project.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Item 25, present for approval invitation to bid for the purchase and delivery of one 2025 or 2026 Caterpillar 140 all-wheel drive motor grader or equivalent, and direct the clerk to advertise.
Rob's not here this morning, so I'll fill in for him. This is part of their regular replacement of those motor graders for use on county roads.
I move that we approve the invitation to bid for the purchase and delivery of one 2025 or 2026 Caterpillar 140 all-wheel drive motor grader or equivalent, and direct the clerk to advertise.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Item 26, present for approval renewal of health insurance with Cigna. Amanda.
Can't know where she's at.
On Teams and her currently.
Jennifer could probably speak to this.
It was, since Amanda's not here. This is the health insurance management team worked with Cigna and Hub, who is our consultant on the renewal of health insurance. Because we have some large claimants, we did reach out to, oh, hi, I was filling in for you. That's fine. Oh, Amanda's like, great. Cigna or Hub did reach out to get quotes from other agencies. And this year, no other insurance companies would bid on the county's policy. So we are requesting the renewal of the Cigna policy as it is included in the packet.
Why do you think they wouldn't bid?
Because we have a couple or one especially large claimant that is a recurring annual claimant.
Thank you.
I move that we approve the renewal of health insurance with Cigna.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Present for approval application for catering permit for Delancey Enterprises LLC for the tribute to Steamboat University of Wyoming homecoming held at the University of Wyoming Hanson Teaching Arena located at 470 Highway 230, Laramie, Wyoming on October 1st from 4 p.m. to 9:30 p.m. Kayla.
Good morning, Madam Chair and Commissioners. This is a catering permit for a liquor license holder actually in Laramie County. Delancey Enterprises does this event every year. We do have a letter from the Laramie County Clerk's Office allowing them to use their license here in Albany County, so they're all in compliance over there. Other than that, everything is good to go on our side.
I move that we approve the application for catering permit for Delancey Enterprises LLC, the tribute to Steamboat University of Wyoming homecoming held at the University of Wyoming Hanson Teaching Arena located at 470 Highway 230, Laramie, Wyoming on October 1st, 2025, 4 p.m. to 9:30 p.m.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Item 28, acknowledge receipt of Albany County Statement of Receipts and Expenditures for the preceding 12 months, setting forth the source and the amount of all receipts and the purpose and the amount of all expenditures, and to be signed by the chairman and the clerk of the board, and shall be posted on the county's designated official website in a manner provided in Wyoming Statute 18-3-516F and published.
Good morning, Madam Chair and Commissioners. This is the statement of receipts and expenditures for the preceding 12 months. I emailed it out to you this morning. Amanda and Brady, I think, was up there, and probably Sunny as well. Got it done yesterday, right before 5. And of course, we were already on our way out to Rock River. So this is just our receipts and expenditures for the preceding 12 months for your consideration.
And it looks like we spent $1 million more than we took in.
Easy come easy.
Yeah, well, I guess I move that we acknowledge the receipt of, that's all we're doing, receipt of Albany County statements of receipts and expenditures for the preceding 12 months, setting forth and securing the amount of all receipts and the purpose and the amount of all expenditures, and to be signed by the chairwoman and clerk of the board, and shall be posted on the county's designated official website in a manner provided in Wyoming Statute 18-3-516, subsection F, and published.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. We will do 28A, which is item 17 handbook. Thank you, Matt.
Yeah, and I also realized that, the copy of the grants policies and procedures handbook, which was included, in the packet, did not have the red line. I believe what happened, was when you convert that to a PDF, it accepts all the changes.
Oh,
So, the first, I would actually ask that you reconsider item
16.
6.
It's 16.
Yeah, 16, showing that those red line changes, that was the top piece of paper I gave you. The pertinent changes to the conflict of interest provisions are on that first page, front page, and then the rest is just renumbering. So we have to have policies in place which govern actual and perceived conflict of interests under federal funding. And that is seen throughout, the major difference being that for that federal funding, like I previously said, that has to be disclosed on forms acceptable to federal agencies, and that there are ways where you can seek exemptions from that if so allowed by the federal agency.
So do I need to reconsider my motion for 16?
I would ask so.
Okay. I move to reconsider the motion for 16 and approve revised grant policies and procedures as presented.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. On to
Yeah.
item 17.
Or 28A.
Okay.
Yeah. Apologies. So that's the changes to the employee handbook. It also does touch on actual and perceived conflicts of interest, and sort of lists the examples which are consistent with federal guidance and state guidance for the expenditures of federal funding.
What dictates a perceived conflict? Just by definition?
Anything that creates the appearance of a conflict of interest. Under Wyoming law, there really is not perceived conflicts of interest. But under federal, it's required that there be policies which address perceived conflicts of interest. And obviously, it's a matter of degrees. The general guidance is if it's truly a perceived conflict of interest, which is
Whether it is or it isn't, it needs to be disclosed.
it should be disclosed and should not take action on an item.
All right. Well, I move that we accept the changes to the newly revised employee handbook, item 28A.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you, Ben.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Item 29, executive session pursuant to Wyoming statute 16-4-405A, triple I.
Madam Chair, I move that we move to executive session pursuant to Wyoming statute 16-4-405A subsection I at 10:42.
Second. Quick today.
No, you're good.
Yeah.
After last night, you're on it.
Understandable.
Sorry, I just wanted to say hello.
How are you doing?
Good to see you again.
Yeah.
We'll see you back. The state bar conference.
Oh,
Yeah, it's a.
Yeah, awesome.
Would you be so kind as to close the door as you leave? Thank you.
I can't reach you. Over the podium. I was thinking.
No, you can't.
No.
Already. And then you gotta start the recording again. So go to more.
Such a soft-spoken lady. I would like to return to regular session. Motion,
Madam Chair, I move that we exit executive session pursuant to Wyoming State Statute 16-4-405A, Roman numeral III, and return to regular session 11:21.
Second.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Item 32, action.
Madam Chair, I move that we direct the planning office to distribute a notice of resolution for 100 North Fork Road, for the property at 100 North Fork Road.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Item 33, approve payroll and vouchers for September 2025.
Madam Chair, I move that we approve payroll and vouchers for September 2025.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Seeing no further business before the Board of County Commissioners, may I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. We are adjourned. Thank you,
Until
everyone.
1, when you have to come back.
Oh, yes, we do need to come back at 1 p.m. this afternoon for Board of Equalization hearing